The most successful NFL head coach of all time is on his way to the ACC. Let's sort this all out.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is finalizing a deal, as I say this, to become the next head football coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Thank you so much to the Everydayers for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return because new customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. He is Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. We'll talk about the transfer portal giving and taking away. Cal is losing their starting quarterback. The Duke Blue Devils have found theirs, and I think it's a really good move for Manny Diaz and company. But all of that, Kenton, takes a back seat to six-time Super Bowl winning NFL head coach who, Bill Belichick, he's had a half-century long coaching career, which has been entirely spent in the National Football League. He's 72 years old. He's coming to the North Carolina Tar Heels. I'm at a loss for words. I barely even know how to describe what's happening here.
You know, this reminds me of the old song from I believe it's the rapper formerly known as Waka Flocka Flame, Grove Street Party. Because fellas, it's a party, it's a party, it's a party. Hey, it's a party. It's a party in the ACC. You've got to be excited about this. I don't care who you are. You've got to be excited. Let me tell you why, okay? If you are UNC, you get the winningest coach of all time. Or I'm sorry, one of the winningest coaches of all time. In terms of winning percentage, I believe he's first. He's 14 wins behind Shula in terms of NFL wins.
Right? I'm glad you said that because I wouldn't let you forget about that.
Oh, no, never. We wouldn't do that. But in terms of winning percentage, I believe he is first. And who's got more Super Bowls than the man? So congratulations, North Carolina. You got your man. You got your guy. Now, Tar Heels, go ahead and turn this episode off because it's not going to be nice for you the rest of the way. Everybody else in the ACC, we all got ourselves a guaranteed win, boys. Congratulations. We've worked so hard to make this happen. And now comes the day where UNC said, Mac Brown, you're a little too old. You've lost the touch. You've lost it. And by the way, I spoke with a good friend of mine who is a UNC alum, played football there. And don't get to thinking I'm fraternizing with the enemy now. But a good friend of mine that graduated from UNC, played football there, chatted with me about this, and he said, I think that North Carolina's problem has always been culture and discipline, and Bill Belichick is bringing both. And I had not considered that. I hadn't. But I told him, have you not considered that Bill Belichick has never had to recruit in his life? He's never had to do that. And he said, well, he's going to hire a GM. I said, a GM that's completely a separate entity from the coach? At some point in time, players are going to want to talk to the guy that's going to be good. With all due respect, the GM is not coaching them day to day.
Right. Well, not to mention, when he was at New England, he was basically the GM. I mean, they had GMs in title, but Belichick was the guy who was shopping for the groceries. Is Bill Belichick, who he or Bill Parcells, who he worked for, used to say that Belichick was basically the GM there. So now all of a sudden he's going to delegate to a GM.
Yeah, sounds good in theory. Everybody knows this is a dumpster fire waiting to happen. This is a crash and burn. It's a train wreck that none of us can look away from because we know exactly how this is going to go. Bill Belichick is going to be Bill Belichick, and he's going to rub a bunch of 18 and 22-year-olds the wrongest of ways. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of guys pissed off saying, oh, my God, bro, this man doesn't understand us. He doesn't get us at any level. He doesn't know how to connect with us. And on top of that, he expects UNC to not double, not triple, but allegedly quadruple its current NIL spending. Oh my God. This is going to be so fun, everybody that's not a UNC fan. We did it, Joe. We did it. We got Bill Belichick in. Donno, Grayson and I are planning on throwing him a welcoming party. We're going to be on the tarmac at RDU as soon as he lands. I'm sorry. That's not even quadruple. That's quintuple.
Quintuple. Yeah.
Lord
have
mercy.
For those who are listening to the audio version, I put this X post from Matt Hayes, who covers college football. I put this on the screen. Source tells me UNC will increase their NIL package for football from $4 million to $20 million in an effort to land Belichick. This was, 7 hours before they were finalizing the deal. And throughout the day on Wednesday, we've heard that, Belichick and the UNC administration were still working some things out. Obviously, this is one of those things that they've been working out because Bill's not going to go there without some guarantees, right? Bill's not going to go there if they're not going to open up the purse strings, right? I'm going to push back on you a little bit. I will say this though, to all your points about Belichick to UNC. This is not a gamble I would want my program to make, right?
Absolutely.
If the Miami Hurricanes had a coaching vacancy right now, this is not the direction I would want them to go in. I just think there's such a risk to bring in someone who's, twilight of his coaching career, has only coached in the pros. It's a massive, massive risk. At the same time, I'm not 100% convinced that this can't work. I'm not, because again, you're bringing in someone who carries cachet and gravitas.
Yeah.
I know he's rubbed people the wrong way at certain points of his career. But anybody you're recruiting knows this guy is the most successful NFL head coach of all time. Bill's out there making these promises. He was on the Pat McAfee show, and he talked about, if I were to coach a college program, very hypothetical, of course, that I would make it an NFL program, right? I would have an NFL type of operation, NFL regimen, strength and conditioning, nutrition. I would prepare guys for the NFL. I mean, maybe players will buy into that. And maybe, some of these North Carolina Tar Heels that are in the transfer portal right now, which makes sense when your, previous head coach gets fired. Maybe some of them are intrigued with the idea of playing for Bill Belichick. And I'm not going to discount a 49-year coaching career. Not all of it was excellence, of course, but Bill Belichick learned and saw everything during a 49-year career. He's also made connections, Kenton, throughout his career. With a lot of college coaches throughout the combine and scouting processes. He's got connections galore throughout the football world. I'd like to see what kind of a staff he hires. Like, I am open to the possibility that Bill Belichick could find success at North Carolina.
Me too, Donno. I'm super open to it. And you know what? Everybody talks about Bill Belichick's got no chance to succeed. Well, I want to point to a fellow elder statesman in the coaching realm that's done pretty well for himself. A guy born on the 2nd day of June in the year of 1961. Oh, Curt Cignetti. Curt Cignetti has done amazingly. And him and Bill Belichick have very, very similar resumes, right? I mean, Cignetti before this, he only was a graduate assistant at Pitt and then at Davidson was a QB and wide receivers coach, and then at Rice was a QB coach, and then at Temple was a QB coach, and then at Pitt was a QB coach, and then at NC State was a QB tight ends and run game coordinator, and then at Bama was a wide receiver and run game coordinator, and then he went to IUP as the head coach, then he went to Elon as a head coach, then he went to James Madison and led them to their most successful time as a head coach, then to Indiana.
A lot of college experience, yeah.
But, whoa, Donno. Whoa, we're just talking about age here. Hey, right, I'm trying to buy into your narrative, Donno. This is gonna be a smashing success. Congratulations, Chapel Hill. Happy times are here again. Congratulations, guys. Again, please, somebody in the comments tell me when his plane lands so I can be there to help him get to his new spot, wherever that's going to be, so that we can get him unpacked and get him everything he needs. Because I want him here for the long haul, Donno. I thought when UNC had fired Mac Brown, I was downright sad, dejected, devastated even. Devastated. You heard me on this show calling for 20 more years of Mac. I wanted that for them.
Right.
I wanted that for them. And then I see that they fire Mac. And Donno, I was worried. I said, they're not going to get a coach that ain't got no Power 4 head coaching experience like Summerall. That had me worried. I said, oh, no, not Summerall. Don't bring him around. He doesn't have the experience. He just doesn't have the experience to do it. But when they brought up Belichick, I got excited. I said, what's more experience than 5 decades? And with that being said, they went out and landed them. Hey, it's going to be great for the ACC how good they're going to be. It's going to be great for everybody in the ACC how good they're going to be. And how, did you hear his pitch? Did you hear how unique his pitch was? We're going to run a professional program, right? And here's what he said. On the football side, we're going to get them ready for the pros. And then on the academic side, we'll get them ready for life after football. Donno, are those not two of the most revolutionary concepts you've ever heard of?
Never heard that before. I
ain't heard not nary a coach say such a thing as we're going to get you ready for the NFL on the field, and we're going to get you ready for life after the game. Hey, listen, I'm excited for UNC. I'm so excited. Hey, William, Billiam, whatever you want to be called, we welcome you with open arms to the Triangle. Come on in, brother. Come on in. As soon as you land on that tarmac, you've got 2 fans and me and Grayson Boone. Come on, brother.
There's more to unpack, by the way, from this Belichick move, because it seems a little sketchy the way that North Carolina even went about making this happen. None of this will surprise Kenton Gibbs, who's highly aware of the of some of the disorganization, let's say, in the administration there at UNC, but also what's in it for Bill? Because we're in an era where we've had in recent years like a flood of college coaches leaving to try to get NFL jobs because they don't have to worry about stuff like NIL and recruiting. They just focus on coaching, right? I mean, Nick Saban, he's not going back to the NFL, but I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't want to deal with this new era. And yet Belichick at 72, he decides this is something he now wants to start at this point in his life. Why? I'd like to discuss that. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. We're only getting started on FanDuel. I can't wait to see the props on Bill Belichick, by the way. How many games is North Carolina going to win his first year? You can find all the numbers and tackle all the NFL action as well on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more right on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. I've never seen Kenton Gibbs smile as big as he has so far on this episode. I have never seen you smile this much. I was watching David Hale on ACC PM on Wednesday afternoon, kind of talking about the whole hiring process with Belichick, and I did a little more reading on the ESPN reporting and stuff. So, Kenton, I hope for UNC's sake that they're going to have alignment between the administrators and the football program, because it really sounds like they undercut their athletic director to make this hire. So basically they were holding meetings with Bill without Bubba Cunningham being involved. So it was the Board of Regents who really pushed for this. And you hear about this stuff happening in college football. Like sometimes the money people want to go in a different direction than the administrators. Like this would not be the first time something like this has happened, but this apparently was initiated mostly by board chair John P. Pryor, who's, really had Belichick in his sights in recent weeks. And I don't know how Bubba Cunningham, the AD at UNC, feels about this whole process. He might have wanted to take the search in a different direction or do a more complete search. So, and I don't know how much longer Cunningham's going to have a job, because you remember months ago, we were talking about those meetings that they were having, and they were concerned about Cunningham mismanaging the budget and everything. And by the way, with a budget that's been mismanaged allegedly, now you're just going to quintuple your NIL package, right? It's easy as that, right?
Oh, for sure. And I want to say, I for one, am shocked, taken aback, floored, flabbergasted, if you will, at the idea of disorganization within UNC football. I am so shocked at this, Donno. Of all the programs in the ACC, of all the programs in the Power Four, really, when you think about disorganization and misalignment between the important parties, UNC, we all know how in line everybody was about Mac Brown's retirement, firing, or refirement, I guess we can call it, because we've seen multiple refirements in the ACC. We saw our boy Boeheim up in Syracuse get refired, and now we saw Mac Brown get refired. And we know refirements are always a great sign of alignment within a program. It shows a straight line from the decision makers to the head coaches. And so, after seeing a refirement, I'm very surprised that this process led to a little bit of disjointedness and fractionedness. All right, I'm going to take the sarcasm out of my voice now. What a joke. What an unserious joke of a situation. If you don't want the AD, get rid of the AD. But what you should never do is undercut the AD in such a meaningful way, embarrass him, basically have a situation where his job is stripped from under him, manhood completely taken away from him in this situation. And to think you did all of this for a coach with no college experience? And again, everybody keeps telling me, Ken, football is football is football, and he's the greatest of all time. That's fair. That's fair. Hey, Donno, who would you say is the greatest college football coach since the year 2000? Who would you say?
Nick Saban.
Nick Saban's the greatest. Well, when he went to the NFL, that surely worked out well for him, right?
I know firsthand. I covered him when he was at the NFL, and it wasn't a whole lot of fun in the building, I'll say that. And, he wasn't having fun either, clearly, because 2 years later he bolted back to college, and it worked out very well for him.
Well, you know what? Maybe okay, I get it. I understand it now. It's because he was not detailed enough. Like maybe a guy who has a script of every game, first 10 to 15 plays, like a Petrino, right? Petrino is really, really detailed. He's really detailed. When he went to the NFL, it worked out perfectly well, didn't it?
Ooh, if you say so.
Well, you know what, Donno? I'm sorry. I'm looking at this wrong. There have been a ton of coaches who've gone from the NFL to college and it worked out for them well, right? There's been like a ton of guys the list of coaches who won a Super Bowl and a national championship, it's got to be a mile long, right?
I mean, my guy Jimmy Johnson is on there.
Okay.
Barry Switzer, who was kind of a fraud, but he did it.
Okay. Yeah, we got Switzer. We got Pete Carroll in there. Can't forget old Carroll. Yeah. There are more, right? There has to be more somewhere in there, right? Didn't Lou Holtz or somebody had to? Yeah. So long story short, the game is very different in college.
Yeah, it is.
Dealing with grown men who are, again, this is how they feed their families, and they have fully developed frontal lobes, which, granted, playing football makes those a little soft, but they have somewhat developed frontal lobes against 18.
To be fair, I didn't play football at any high level, and I'm not sure about my own frontal lobe. Being honest, I don't know if mine ever developed either.
Hey, I'm not mad at you, Donno. Just like I'm not mad at UNC. This was an absolutely terrible hire, but who knows? They really could come back and have me eat my words about this. And as much as disgusting as I find the Dirty Foot Club, as reprehensible as I find them as a group of people, if they do turn out to absolutely dominate, if my good friend was correct and Bill Belichick brings in discipline and structure that was long missing there, because objectively speaking, if people ask me what's wrong with UNC, for the longest I would say culture. I would say they don't have a culture of toughness, of stick-to-itiveness, of physicality, of, hey, we are football guys. We love this. This here is what we do. If somebody asked me what UNC was missing, I would say that. And Bill Belichick actually is a great creator of that. For all the things, for all the people he rubs the room with, he is a great creator of that. So if he turns out to lead this team to a new era where UNC is known for toughness, they're known for being professionals, they're known for everybody showing up on time, doing their job in the way it's supposed to be done, objectively speaking, as much as it would make me cry, shake, and throw up like Jamie Foxx and Ray when he was going through withdrawals, I would have to accept that it's good for the ACC in that realm. However, I think it'll be good for the ACC in terms of Miami, pencil yourself in for another win every time you see him on the schedule. NC State, get ready to run it up from 4 wins straight to 10. Wake Forest, Duke, congratulations. You just moved up in the state pecking order. Except Duke, you've beaten everybody in the triangle. Congratulations, you're on top. I am looking at this and saying the rest of the ACC should be excited. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'm a big enough man to come on there and admit I'm wrong, as I've had to do in the past, like I just did about Clemson, where I had to admit, hey, I said they were over. I said it was done. I had to admit I was wrong. And I'm admitting right now again, I was wrong about Clemson. They were not done. They are ACC champs once again. Yeah. So if UNC proves me wrong, they prove me wrong. But I think that this is a mistake that will set UNC back at least a decade.
Let me ask you, why do you think Belichick wants this? Because I'm thinking about a few. I'll give you multiple choice, and if you want to, create your own multiple choice, because I'm thinking about the possibilities here. Like, does he just want another challenge? Like, does he want to do something? Because there have been a few guys, like you mentioned, who have gone from national championships in college to Super Bowls. No one's done it in reverse, right? Does he want to add another thing to his GOAT resume? Like, hey, you can't say I couldn't do this without Tom Brady, right? So does he want a new challenge? Maybe he just really wants to coach again at a high level, and it's clear the NFL has just cycled him out. Like the NFL clearly feels that he is aged out. He interviewed for the Falcons job last year. They went with Raheem Morris instead. I don't really feel like other NFL teams are calling him for head coaching vacancies. Does he just want to coach again that badly that he's willing to take a college job, or does he want to coach with his son and create a future job for his son? Because Stephen Belichick, who's at Washington right now, widely respected that Stephen's going to leave Washington for a role on Bill's staff. There have been rumors out there. I haven't seen it explicitly stated, but there are rumors out there that he wants his son, Stephen, to become coach in waiting. So maybe that's why he wants this. He's got a 24-year-old girlfriend. Does he want to, maybe scout some other prospects on campus? What do you think this is about for him?
Can I go with the answer is E, all of the above? I mean, okay. The reality of this thing is simple. You're looking at a ton of reasons. What job can Belichick get right now that's going to pay him what UNC is paying? And as much as people will say, oh, he's got enough money, baby, there are these things that are called billionaires that exist. There is the flat out reality that regardless of how much money you get, I believe it was one of Roderick Gucci Mane Davis that said, never too much money. And if they're going to pay you $1 million to go out there and stink it up, I'll take $1 million to go out there and stink it up, especially on behalf of UNC. If somebody told me, Ken, go out there and coach UNC to a bunch of tragicness for $1 million, for $2 million, for $3 million, well, I don't mind if I do. Throw a $5 million on there just for kicks and giggles. But in all seriousness, there's that. There's also the fact that, yes, it is, as much as people think it's weird to keep bringing up his girlfriend, objectively speaking, a 70-year-old dating a 24-year-old, then going to college to coach is objectively like a, it's like case, but why is he around?
It's like an 80s comedy movie. Like, I feel like Rodney Dangerfield, maybe he rest in peace, would be playing this role in a movie. That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Exactly. And then you talk about setting up his son. His son is a part of his coaching tree. Where has his coaching tree pissed a drop? I am still waiting on somebody to show me consistent success from anybody in his coaching tree. Anybody. Do you know who has a more impressive coaching tree than him? But despite the fact that he has not coached for an iota of the time that he has? Sean damn Payton has a more impressive coaching tree than Bill Belichick. Yeah. He knows his son is not going to get a job based off of being his son, regardless. So he has to find a way to usher in his son with a job. And then here's the last thing, Donno. A lot of people are speculating, well, he needs to do this to get back to the NFL. I 1,000% agree with that. If he can show, hey, I'm 72 in a game that I've never even coached, because let's be honest, the college game is exponentially different from the pro game in almost every way. The hash marks are different. The kicker ability is different. Think about how people are treating Justin Tucker right now. Do you know if a college kicker had his stats from this season, everybody would be like, hey, he's one of the best college kickers in the nation. And we're all looking at Justin Tucker like, hey, they might string that man up by the neck in Baltimore. But that's the reality because, again, it's a virtually entirely different game. So if he can show, hey, I can coach this team to 9-10 wins, all of a sudden that NFL interest might get very, very real. All of a sudden, folks might start relenting.
I don't know about that because, okay, like how many years would it actually take for him to have enough success at UNC to theoretically be attractive again for the NFL? And then however many years that takes, with 77 years old, do you think an NFL team is like, we're going to give our head coach, I don't care who you are, we're going to give our head coaching job to a 77-year-old? I don't know. I think this is the last ride for him.
I would say 1, maybe 2 years. I think it's, seriously speaking, if he wins 9 to 10 games in back-to-back years, or even if you go 6 wins first year, 9 wins the second year, right? If a team is desperate enough and they're like, hell, we're going to be terrible anyway. Let's try our best to sell some tickets. What's the cheapest way to sell some tickets? Players are expensive. Great players in today's market. Look at Christian Kirk's damn contract. Even mid-level players are expensive. You know, you're in Florida. You know what the Jaguars are doing to get good players down there. But a good coach, on the other hand, you can get for pennies on the dollar, especially a headline attractor like Belichick. So if he wins for a year, maybe 2 max, because I don't think he needs more than 2 good years. If he has 2 good years, at that point, he'd be, 75? But he'd be 75 coming off a double-digit win season at UNC Chapel Hill, which that's not a common thing there. That's not like a
true. They've only had one double-digit win season in the last 27 years.
But that's the point. That's my whole point. Yeah. So if he were able to do that, I think he would absolutely be a contender for NFL jobs in the way that he would. So I say this is all of the above. There are multiple factors that make this make sense for him. And the biggest thing, he could just really love coaching. He could really just be like, hey, listen, all my kids are grown. I'm divorced. I got nothing better to do. Right. I'm not about to chill and travel with my old lady. I want to coach some football. That's what I do. Coaching ball and chasing co-eds is what makes me happy. I want to go do it.
Oh, man. Well, we're going to shift gears because there's some quarterback movement in the ACC. A big one is arriving and another one maybe leaving the conference, but not necessarily. We'll talk about that. You want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Become a gift-giving hero like me and Kenton with Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with our promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more. Save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchases may apply. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. Make sure you also check out Locked On College Football. I know our guy Spencer McLaughlin is going to be talking a lot about the Belichick thing, about the quarterback carousel in the ACC. So make sure you make Locked On College Football your next listen. So kudos to Duke. So Darian Mensah, former Tulane quarterback, hit the transfer portal within the last week. I mean, officially hit the portal on Monday. That's when the portal opened. And first visit he scheduled was Duke, and he was expected to go through, a whole series of visits. And like we always say this, Kenton, whether it's recruiting or transfer portal, which is, similar, you're always going to try to get, if you're the first visit, you want to try to get that player to shut it down. Like, hey,
absolutely.
Why? Same thing when you're buying a car, right? They want to, what can I do to get you in this new Cadillac Eldorado today? What can I do to get you to Duke football today, is what Manny Diaz said. And they land Darian Mensah, very sought after quarterback who had really good year with the Tulane Green Wave, was one of the hot prospects out there. Granted, not a Power 5 or Power 4 guy, but looks like he's ready to take it to the next level. 66% of his passes were completed this year, 2,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And the most important question you ask when you nudge one quarterback out of the door and you replace him, is he, and I'm not saying that's what happened with Malik Murphy, but Malik Murphy left Duke. He's on the market right now. I believe this could be an upgrade, Kenton. I think Duke probably has themselves a better quarterback now than the one who left.
As a member of the ACC and a member of the Triangle, I was worried about a different guy from Tulane coming up from the Triangle. Congratulations, Summerall. You stay down there in Tulane until you're good and ready. Okay, you stay right there. But in all seriousness, Mensah coming up is a hell of a get for Duke. It's a hell of a get for Duke because this young man has shown to have many of the same abilities as Murphy, but at a higher clip. He has shown the ability to make those consistent throws underneath. He has shown the ability to be on time and on target as a freshman. As a guy that's played zero relevant college football before this, all of a sudden he shows up on campus in Tulane, wins the starting spot, and does fantastic things with this team. So, shout out to Duke for getting their new quarterback right away. I mean, they didn't wait. They didn't let that front seat in the quarterback room get cold before they said, all right, we got a new guy. We got a guy. So, shout out to Diaz and company because that is a really great gift for them. And again, this is one of those moments where I'm actually worried as an NC State guy, like, oh, damn. You know what I mean? Like, y'all could have waited a little bit. Y'all could have let Mensah take a couple more visits before y'all got him locked up. But in all seriousness, I think that there'll be a serious offense with him at the helm.
Yeah, and elsewhere, Fernando Mendoza, who we really like, he's going to be leaving Cal in the transfer portal. And I know our guy Lawrence Ross, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, because I know Lawrence is a big fan of Mendoza, just an ultimate great competitor, tremendous young man, leader. Obviously, he's very intelligent. You don't play quarterback at Cal if you're not. The academic standards are very high, and he's leaving in the transfer portal, and it's definitely one. I'm not 100% sure where he's going to end up, but someone who covers Miami, this is one I'm on the lookout for, Kenton, because Fernando Mendoza, where did he grow up? He grew up in Miami. 305. He actually played his high school ball at Mario Cristobal's alma mater in Miami, Columbus. Cristobal actually knows his father. Like the families are familiar. So again, at this point, I haven't seen or heard anything substantive about Miami pursuing him, but it seems like that would be one to watch, as Miami has maybe been dabbling in the quarterback market a little bit. And I like Mendoza a lot. I would, though, and this is a discussion we can expand upon in a future episode, I would proceed with caution if I'm Miami for this reason. Miami has some good players who don't have experience yet, but some players with potential who are in their quarterback room right now. Mendoza's got 2 years of eligibility left. When you're going to bring in a transfer quarterback, this is a game, the Mike Norvells of the world know this all too well. They just lost Luke Croman Hawk. Dabo Sweeney does not recruit out of the portal for this reason. If you're going to bring in a quarterback, especially one who's got multiple years of eligibility left, you got to make darn sure that this guy is worth it and that he's an upgrade, because you risk, maybe forcing others that are within your room that you may want to develop into the transfer portal. Because again, like Miami doesn't have anybody with as much experience as Mendoza. That's true. But I like the way Emory Williams has been developing. And Miami landed a true freshman quarterback who's been lighting it up in the state of Georgia. He's going to be a state champion again, Luke Nickel. I don't want to jeopardize that dude's future in any way, shape, or form. So proceed with caution when you're bringing in transfer quarterbacks is all I will say.
You know, my mother taught me a lesson when I was a very young child, or I would say a teenager, but I was just still a young child, that has stuck with me to this day. She said, son, don't you ever give up Mrs. Right for Mrs. Right now. And, you know, what that means is everything that is in the distance looks shinier. It looks better. It looks fresher. It looks firmer. It looks more exciting. The arm looks bigger. Looks like he can elude tackles a little better because you haven't seen his worst days. You haven't seen him in his ups and downs. You haven't seen his practice habits. You haven't seen him every single day. But Donno, I'm here to tell you. Because people look at Cam Ward and they're going to have recency bias. And they're like, oh, get us everybody out the portal. Get us portal guys. Get a portal. As an NC Stater, I can tell you, we had Grayson McCall, who, with all due respect, the concussion problem was still lingering. NC State bought a lemon in regards to health. And even when he was healthy, wasn't that good, with all due respect. The year before that, same thing with Brennan Armstrong.
Yeah, you guys need to stop bringing in transfer quarterbacks. Sure.
So, but here's the thing: it's not just NC State. NC State. Yeah. How many quarterbacks around the country, if we look at all of these first-year transfer guys, that were just god awful in year one? McNamara up at Iowa, PU. You got the head coach's son fired. Not even Bill Belichick style. I had to break out the Febreze for how much that kid stinks. You know, how many times have we seen? Even some of the greats. Joe Burrow in year one. What did he look like as opposed to year two? You know? So I'm not saying this as I don't believe in Fernando Mendoza thing. I'm saying this in a Cam Ward is the exception. Cam Newton is the exception. Justin Fields is the exception. By and large, when you have players transfer, in year one, they're going to stink it up. And you are giving up on a guy who could be your Mr. Right for 3 to 4 years for Mr. Right now, which is very deleterious. Because if you are out of Miami, why would your Mr. Right leave, hypothetically? If you have a quarterback in that room that's going to dominate, why would he leave? A better opportunity at a championship? Where the hell else is he going to get that? There's about 5 teams in the nation that you could say, hey, they definitively have a better shot. There's nothing Miami can do. That team will always have a better shot than them at the championship. For a bigger bag, y'all saw what Cam Ward was getting paid out there. Who's getting paid more than them? How many quarterbacks getting paid more than them? Nico and who else? Bryce Underwood and who else? You know what I mean? So the reality is the grass is, Macy Gray said it best on the As Told by Ginger theme song. Someone once told me the grass was much greener on the other side, but I took a visit and I thought that I missed it. It was different, but exactly the same. So you got to be very careful if you're a university recruiting over players for Mr. Right now.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And I would also just, as a general thing, I'll say to Miami fans, and I am one. I mean, you can tell by what I'm wearing. For those watching on YouTube, I'm a big Miami fan. Let's try not, whoever the next quarterback is, let's try not to directly compare him to Cam Ward, because I don't think that'd be fair to anybody. In fact, I think no matter who Miami's quarterback is next season, they should be more heavy on the run than they were this year. I think that's the recipe, because they have the offensive line. There's even a chance Damian Martinez might come back. That's not a done deal either way. So Martinez might be back. You've got Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle. Like if you need to, I'm not saying never. I don't want to be like a 1950s option offense. I'm not saying never throw the ball, but if you need that ratio to be closer to 50-50, 55-45 in favor of the run, you do it. That may be the path to victory next year.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. With the talent you have in that backfield, I think it'd be a fool's errand to say we're going to come up with one quarterback and we're losing Miami's all-time leading receiver in almost every regard.
Yeah, that's right.
And yet we're still going to lean. I like Arroyo a lot. I like him a lot. I believe Brown is the second leading receiver, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be back. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think that it would be a good idea to go away from the run. And knowing Mario Cristobal's style and what he wants to do, how he wants to drain the clock, how he wants to kind of shorten the game, I don't think he will. So Mendoza there makes a lot of sense because of that and because they're not going to expect him to do too much. But even still, I wouldn't want to give up Mr. Right for Mr. Right now.
Yeah. Well, really good stuff as always. Welcome to the ACC, Bill Belichick. You want to make sure you're following Kenton at TGIF_Kenton on X. Follow me at Alex Donno. Follow our shows, Locked On Wolfpack and Locked On Canes. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on another episode of Locked On ACC, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Patriot way.